on a hill above the sea. Power in the voice of a supporter. But it all amounts to nothing. Together we don't sing. There's power when we're noisy. And they go forever. Oh, town, scenery. Valley and mountain, chaparral to the sea. And the colors of our rainbow, sunset, orange, Tory green. There's power when we're noisy. S.C. Lloyd, oh, forever. Someday, North County. Desert to islands, get loud now, you and me. All our voices strong together as we cheer on our team. There is power when we're
Welcome to the Loyal Locals podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Dyer, coming at you on a little bit later than normal on this Tuesday evening. I know that Landon Donovan had a live podcast with folks. So we are going to talk about the game last weekend, which we did not get the result we wanted. There's also a midweek game that we were going to touch on. So to help me do that, I'm going to bring on our producer, John Cross. John, how are you tonight?
How are you doing, Andrew? I'm doing all right. Hanging in there. Still recovering. So been hanging out and watching all my games from home. Don't get to be in the stadium like you out there. So I'm interested to see your thoughts of our couple of games we had last week.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. And I haven't heard about anything being announced at this the Always Loyal podcast live podcast event. But I think you heard from somebody that's there. I guess it wasn't streamed. I didn't see it anywhere. What is the latest from Landon Donovan?
Well, I don't know if the two of us misinterpreted this or if everybody the same way, but I really was under the impression that this was a live podcast for everybody, and then there just happened to be an audience as well. So I was looking for the link all evening, or well, around 6 o'clock I was looking for it and couldn't find it at all. So I guess that was we will hear it probably when it gets released Wednesday morning. I know there are quite a few people there. I have contacted a couple, and it didn't seem like there was any major announcements that happened. There were, I guess, some cool stuff that Landon got a little deep in the weeds on some tactics, which some people enjoyed, but it just seemed like a pretty standard Always Loyal podcast.
Did anybody ask why we don't send
special.
any? Did anybody ask why we don't send any through balls through to Ronaldo Damas? That's the burning question.
I know. I saw some of that on there. It is. I know there's been a lot of discussion in Discord about our tendency to play safe and maintain possession when, frankly, on TV, and I know in the stands, when I've been in the stands, it seems like there are through balls available frequently, and it is rarely an option we take.
Yeah. So I don't know if sometimes we usually we stream live, obviously, and I think maybe a lot of the folks that maybe watch live are the same that are at this event still tonight. But if anybody's there, and if anything groundbreaking has been said or whatever, please share it in the chat, and we'll be sure to get to that. But let's rewind it a little bit. We had a midweek game. I unfortunately was not able to attend, but I did watch it on TV, and it was let me get your thoughts on that game first, John. The Wednesday match. What did you get from that one? That was a win.
Well, the first thing you said, you didn't attend. You weren't the only one that didn't attend. That was a lightly attended match, and I know we have 3 matches in 8 days, and unless you're very much a diehard, that might be a tall task for people to do. So I think a lot of people understood that game was probably going to be not as full as some of even our other Wednesday matches. But overall, we had a heavily rotated squad going into that match, which I think we need to do. You've got 3 games in 8 days. So, and if we have a deep a bench as we claim we do, then we should feel comfortable going in and rotating. I don't think they played terribly, but um, we really had to dig in and pull it out against a team which on paper we ought to be significantly better than. So happy by the end and impressed with some of the play, Bodley and Conway. I was impressed there, but also disappointed, I think, at the end that felt we really didn't need to put ourselves in that position because I think that's one of those games that will get lost a little bit. That, yeah, we pulled it out and we got a 2-1 victory, but easily could have gone a different way. And with the result on Saturday, I mean, not
Hmm.
getting 3 points against Loudon would have put us in obviously a much worse position in the standings than where we sit right now.
Yeah, it was. I remember after Loudon scored, we basically the cavalry came into the match. I think that's when Conway came in, and it's just okay. I understand maybe your rotated squad can't find the back of the net, and those goals that were scored were incredible, very exciting at the end. It's too bad I wasn't able to be there for that one, but it was kind of maybe a sign of things to come because on Saturday against Memphis 901, it was a very, I think, frustrating performance, especially in the attacking third, where um, from where I was, it just looked like there was a wall of Memphis shirts anytime one of our attackers had the ball, and it was very difficult to get any space. There really was no space. Of course, we only attack from the wings, so it kind of helps maybe game plan for that a little bit. Uh, but there wasn't a lot of great runs of attack. We did earn a PK in the first half, and it was on the other side of the field, so I didn't see the foul that led to that, but it was saved. And hey, I mean, what is it? 1 out of 3 of those get saved, or something like that, right? It's a 66% success rate, and that means that you have a failure rate of like 33%. So hey, I mean, that's too bad that the PK didn't get in the net. That would have made a big difference for us. But and especially a lot of the conversation after the match, people were frustrated, and more so than other losses. Sometimes you lose and it's like, okay, but they played hard. We just didn't get a great call, or I think the ref missed a very obvious free kick at the end with Guido. I think he was fouled. But you know, you can't pin it on the ref. Like if you're counting on the ref to bail you out, then you've already lost the match. Like that really is the top loser's excuse in any sport, is that when you blame the officiating. I don't know. I could go on and on about how frustrating this match was. What were your thoughts out of it?
Before I get to my thoughts on the Memphis match, I did just want to pull up a comment because we do actually have at least one person in the audience tonight with us. So I'd like to thank Jeffrey for the comments. And just his that I I do think it's good to give people minutes. I was glad to see Xavi get a good chunk of minutes if he is going to be, unless we sell him on somewhere. But if he's going to be an integral part of the team moving forward, he needs to start getting some minutes as well. And some of the other, we've settled on a starting lineup, but as we see with injuries and other things, we need to make sure we don't leave people on the bench too much and get some people having some minutes. So I just wanted to comment on that. But for Memphis, I'll go back and start with the penalty kick. Watching from home and watching the replay, I did not think that was a penalty kick. I thought we got lucky to get the call, although the Memphis defender was pulling. I mean, it could be a combination of things because he was pulling and tugging on Perez like all the way on that run. And then he laid a hand on Perez once he was in the box and Perez just collapsed down. So, I mean, it could have been a combination of things the way the ref saw it, but actual, if you just take the isolated instance of that penalty kick, I thought that was pretty weak. Um, we were fortunate to get that, and unfortunately on the penalty kick part was not a great taken penalty kick, but early in the match, and we looked good in the beginning part of that match. But when Memphis got their goal, I I hope this doesn't come across as sounding too bitter, like you said about complaining about refs or something. But
Hey man, this is fan media.
yeah,
Let's
I
do
thought
it.
Memphis, in a way, in a cynical way, did a very good job of destroying the game, and I was disappointed to see Memphis play that way. I feel like Memphis is a better team, and I haven't seen Memphis play too much, so I don't know. But the excessive being on the ground and the fouls and some of the other things that were going on, they they executed it well. I mean, I have to give them kudos for that. They did what they needed to do to really kind of keep us from playing our game. So in that sense, I guess a tip of the hat to them. But it, I think it increases for me as a fan the frustration in trying to see your team make a comeback or do something like they did a few days before, and have, you know, everything they do just be destroyed all the time, and you just couldn't get flow of the game. No, we missed some chances as well. I mean, it's not all on Memphis, but you're kind of hoping after the Wednesday match that maybe there's a little bit of magic again in the air and they can pull it out. But with the time wasting in the last 6 minutes and the ref calling it right at the 6 minute mark was all kind of, again, Memphis executed that really well for what they did at the end. I just, one, wish we had a better result, and two, wish we had better soccer played all the way around at the end. Those were my big takes.
At the very least, you'd like to see that stuff, be penalized with somewhat accurate extra time, especially when they're on the ground during the extra time. And from the stands, it was incredibly frustrating. I'm sure the boos came through the TV as well, because they were spending a lot of time on the ground, and it was pretty clear what was going on. But at the same time, it's the USL. The bad officiating or the suspect officiating is kind of what you get. I would like to talk a little bit about it. I don't want to get too deep into tactics and personnel and stuff, but one thing that was really
for that.
Right. But one thing that was really frustrating is seeing our top scorer play wingback again.
Yes.
Seeing Conway on the side, just I don't understand, and I don't have the soccer mind. I don't know what goes into these decisions, but seeing him on the side, I feel like it's a completely wasted weapon, especially when you're struggling to score. We're really set in this formation that we've got. This it's not going to change, and I think that you sometimes have to change your formation to fit the personnel versus changing personnel to fit the formation. I understand they train with this and it's what they want to do, but this is not a new complaint with this team. This is not a new complaint. This was happening under Landon Donovan. There was frustrations about this in that first season, in that second season. That we're just, so attached and married to a system that the result is secondary to playing the system. And when the system is not creating shots, when you only attack through the wings, it's frustrating for fans who want to see goals. And when you have weapons and players like Ronaldo Damas and Evan Conway, who potentially could be a potent duo at the top in another formation, and they don't get, we don't see them playing together at the top. We don't play with two strikers, but when they are playing in that position at the number 9, they are not getting balls fed to them through the midfield. It's all coming from these wing backs. So tactically, it's easy to pick it apart and complain about it. I think on the heels of a loss, but we are in a part of the season right now where we are looking and performing like a very mid-table team, but with our personnel, that is not where we should be. I don't know, because the stuff isn't public, what the loyal player payroll is compared to other teams in the league, but I would have some serious questions about whether our payroll to win ratio is a good thing. And I think we are probably paying more per win than any team in the league. That is just an assumption on my part. I don't know. They don't publicize this stuff, but I mentioned this to a couple of people at the game, and it seemed to be folks think that we're probably one of the highest payrolls in the league. And you've got the players. We should have better luck, especially in this league.
I think it's always hard from a fan's perspective. Being a coach before, not at a particularly high level, but being, a coach, and also being a player and being a fan. You don't always, as a fan, the same thing. I saw Conway go out on the left and just like, oh, no, like why? He's one of our best scorers. Why are we moving him out here? But you don't always know, right, the full situation. You don't know what's going on the bench. You don't know what's going on with players. You don't know what the coaches are able to see or, adjust with the other team. And I get that. But it doesn't stop the feeling, right, as a fan, when you see Conway out wide and you really want to see him up top where he can be most effective. So yeah, and I think those things stick out more when you lose, obviously. If you win and he was there, we probably wouldn't be talking about this, right? But it does. It gets frustrating when you're hoping you can, again, pull out the magic like you did a few days earlier. But to kind of pivot slightly, I did want to ask you for something I saw recently as a Man City fan. So what's this with Pep stealing our ideas of playing the goalkeeper high back with the fullbacks here? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh man, I don't know. I heard he was doing some stuff, so maybe we're on to something. Maybe we gotta keep an eye on Koke. Maybe he's targeting our goalkeeper. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, honestly, that is one of the more innovative, and I think we haven't been, well, Koke has mishandled one or two balls this year, but for the most part, we haven't really been punished for it, right? Like there hasn't been that open net goal that Koke's way too far out, so the other team took advantage and we gave up an easy goal. That hasn't really happened. Apart from just like a goalie mistake, right, where he comes out and misses the ball or something. But with him playing up as the as another center back, we haven't been punished for that, and it has given the team more options in that attack. With the attack starting with him and his distribution. So, if you have a keeper with that skill set who can do it, then it does give you more options in that attack. So I don't know how much San Diego Loyal Soccer Pep Guardiola is watching. There is the Spanish connection with Koke Vegas.
Following right? Nate Miller.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny.
I'll just bring up Jeff's comment here, and yeah, if you maintain possession, you certainly control generally the tempo of the game. And theoretically, right, if you do it well, you make the other team chase and you can tire them out. But I feel sometimes with us not always. I think we do this very well. We do control the ball. We typically have most of the possession in the majority of the games that we play. And we generally move the ball around pretty well. We just haven't been as clinical in the final third as we were last year. We don't have an imposing threat like Kyle Vassell, who really, even though he may not have scored a ton of goals, I mean, he scored goals clearly, and he was very effective, but he occupied usually two defenders, which then freed up other people. One defender would have to play him close, and another would have to be nearby in case Kyle rolled them and started a run or something. So we just don't have that kind of threat right now. Anybody who's up front trying to hold the ball, I think, is relatively easily covered by a single defender without other teams providing too much cover. And I think most teams are happy to let us pass the ball around and sit back. So I think that
Yeah.
that's something we have to learn how to break down better. Or other teams, if they get a lead and they are fairly solid defensively, they should feel pretty comfortable just sitting back with us, unless we prove we can really break them down.
Yeah, that's the thing is I would much rather be a possession team than a counter-attacking team. I can't stand watching that kind of football, but yeah, it's frustrating when you don't, like you said. I don't want to just be repetitive here, but they could not break Memphis down, and that was very obvious watching that second half, especially in the later minutes. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure Dylan and they'll have some stuff on this week.
Yeah.
So let's before we get out of here, I know we do have some supporter specific stuff coming up this week that people need to know, including something different for Saturday.
Yeah, so we're playing New Mexico on Saturday, which I think most people know. But if you were not aware, the game's going to be on ESPN2. So the kickoff time is 6:30 instead of 7, so half hour earlier. So for us, all our other things are adjusted by a half hour, our normal pregame setup. So it should be happening instead of at 3 o'clock in the circle, at 2:30 in the circle. So meet there. Just if you're planning to help out, just double check the Discord to make sure, since it is a different kickoff time for us, to make sure everything's being shifted properly. But that should be at 2:30. And then no Coronado this weekend because we're having a return of Bum's Barking Lot. I think this is the only, I believe, the second Bum's Barking Lot. I think we had one in the opening game of the season. I think this is the second one. Do you remember, Andrew, if we've I think this is only the second one.
I think we've I think you're correct there, because it's been I know it's tough to do the parking lot. It takes a lot from USD. And I think you were talking a little before the show that we're doing it because we don't like New Mexico. We like their fans. They're all right. And so I think the team travels well. So hopefully we'll see some folks out there to come and hang out and have a couple beers and ahead of the game.
Yeah, they've been invited, so expect to see the New Mexico supporters there, several of their supporter groups. I just have a correction. I'm going to put it on the screen as well for people who are watching. Jason informed me that setup will still be at 3. So if you're planning on setting up, not 2:30, like I just said, it'll be at 3 o'clock. So hopefully, with that said, maybe Jason can help me out with start time for Bum's Barking Lot, because we usually do Bum's Barking Lot at 4:30, somewhere around there, for a 7 o'clock game. So I don't know if we're still shooting for about the same time as that. So we'll see if we get response to the opening of Bum's Barking Lot, but we did get a march to the match will be at 5:45. So remember, when we do Bum's Barking Lot, we go march from Bum's Barking Lot to the gate, and then we all get let in as a group. And hopefully, if we time everything right, we'll be there as the players walk by. So we're not meeting at the fountain inside. The march goes from the parking lot to the gate. So if you never participated in that, that's usually a lot of fun. You get up there, you're outside when the players are coming by. We do a lot of chanting, and then since you've already done your ticket to get into the parking lot. They just let us all in as a big group into the stadium. But it's a lot of fun. I have missed the parking lots. I enjoy when we get to do them, and I especially love the march part and being there when the players walk through. And since Jason has jumped in, we will be setting up the parking lot. Should be ready at 4 o'clock. All right, I think those are the important things for this special game with New Mexico. So, Andrew, how do you think we will do against New Mexico here coming up on the weekend?
Well, it's a bounce back game, so that's a positive. I feel like the team responds well after losses. But I don't have a lot of reasons for optimism right now. I don't know how the fitness injury situation is affecting the team, if it's affecting the team. We haven't seen some of the magic from Alejandro Guido as maybe we've come accustomed to this year. I think he hasn't quite found his pace. It's not. I don't know. We're not there. I would love to see a big Ronaldo Damus game. I'd love to see him come in and get a couple goals. I feel like at some point we have to find a way to set him up to succeed. Bringing him in.
Right.
We know what he can do. I want to see us, use him the way that we know he can, do the things that we know he can do. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we talk about this every week, right? We regularly talk about what's happening with Damus. I think we all expected more goals from him this year, and for once, I'm not. It's not the player that I feel like is disappointing us. I feel like he is being let down by this system.
By the system.
So I'm optimistic, but I am also realistic, and hopefully we get a good game. I'm going to guess 3-2. We win.
3-2. Yeah, it's I mean, as you said, we're getting to the crunch time of the season here, right? Where points matter obviously all season long, but this is where, I think the pressure starts to build a little bit. Are you getting home field advantage? Are you making it into the playoffs? Are you out of the playoffs? So we're very fortunate that we're still in fourth place with 2 losses in our last 5 games, and we're still holding on to fourth place, just above Orange County. So that's, again, fortunate for us, but just I think back about our couple of losses that we had, and obviously, right, for any team, when it was where we could have been if we would have at least gotten some points, if not all 3 points out of both those matches, we'd be right up challenging for and around those top 2 spots. New Mexico, though, is just below the playoff line. They've lost their last 3, so they've dropped now out of the playoff position. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting how they show up, right? Do they continue this slide that they've had recently? That kind of knocks them further and further down as their confidence rocked a little bit. Or now that they're outside the playoff line, are they coming in here to really step it up and make sure they get back into that mix? So,
hey man, the Loyal can lose to anybody. We've seen it. Don't put it past them,
yeah,
man.
But we can beat anybody too. We can beat anybody, and I think you can say that about pretty much any team in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
When the players are on and the players are more clinical in the attacking third and take advantage of those opportunities, in any game, those teams are going to win. I think it's just a little more glaring sometimes in the USL how your missed opportunities can really, really hurt you. Whereas I think in some other leagues around the world, your strong teams going up against your weak teams are typically going to win. It's highly unusual when they don't, or at least take some points out of the match. I think in USL, maybe except for Las Vegas this year. But even Las Vegas has surprised people at different times. But I think for the 11 teams, the top 11 teams, anybody can beat anybody easily on any given day, and it's just kind of who
Yeah.
shows up for that match and who does it consistently. And right now, Sacramento's been the most consistent. So I'm not doom and gloom about the playoffs, because as we saw with Orange County a couple years back, any team can make a run if you get hot around the time of the playoffs.
Yeah, they did it with Ronaldo
but-
Damas.
Yeah, and we're just not being as consistent as I would hope that we would be. So I hope we get the win this weekend. I hope everybody's loud in 109, because we need that. And not that people haven't been. I think there has been great support in 109, even with some thin numbers, because I've been watching all the games at home and I hear you guys all the time. So I hope we can keep that up. Because New Mexico is going to bring some fans.
I neglected to tell you, John, we had some visitors drop in the 109 in the second half this Saturday. Just a bunch of kids from Italy, of all places, found their way into the section in that second half, and I saw them, but with their cell phone up, like looking at the lyrics to the chants, and they were loving it. Oh man, they had such a great time, and they were super cool. And after the match, they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys are awesome. This is cool." I think one of the guys said he was a Milan supporter and all that, but they really enjoyed it, and they really dug what we were doing. So you never know who's gonna pop in there. It's really fun when you see, especially when you see like fans from Europe, and they know European football, and they come over into the section, and then they enjoy what we do in our little section, in our little stadium, in our little league, and it just shows you that it's it kind of reminds you, like, oh yeah, this is, even though when you lose, like, this is still like a hell of a lot of fun. So hope to see everybody out there Saturday. Yeah. All right, John. Go ahead.
One more thing. At the risk of getting in trouble for saying this, I would like to encourage some people, if you've never been in 109, 109 is a general admission section. And usually, if you get close to the end of the first half, you have a pretty good idea of ticketed wise, how many people are there and how much space might still be available. I would encourage some people second half, if you want to come test it out and check it out, even though your seats may be somewhere else, wander on over and come join us in 109 for the end of the match. Help fill out that section and get your phones out. Read the lyrics for the songs and come join us. You'll have a blast, and maybe you might want to switch your tickets for some future games to come join us.
It's
in 109.
cheaper.
It's cheaper. There is some space at times I've seen, and I've seen this occasionally. Second half, sometimes the section fills up, but again, at the risk of getting in trouble for saying this, I'm going to just say, you know what, if you see some space and it's interesting to you and you want to come check it out for a little bit, wander on over and find a spot. And you're not taking anybody's space. It's all general admission. We all float around the section.
As long as you're not wearing the other team's colors, you're always
right. Yeah. Welcome. unless you're New Mexico this weekend, you guys can stay in your section. But anybody else, feel free, come check it out, and come join us for a little bit, even if it's for 10 minutes. Come check it out.
All right, John, where can people find you?
How about the only place anymore is on Discord. That's about the only social media type place that I'm at. So you can find me there at John Cross.
All right, and I'm everywhere. If you can't find me, you are not looking. So thanks so much, everyone. We'll be back next week, hopefully, to talk about this huge win Saturday.
All right, bye.
Any day, go forever, oh, can't you